Welcome to the InnovaBuzz podcast, where we share all kinds of tips, advice, and interview guests on all things innovation and leadership in modern marketing. Each episode is a conversation with inspiring people who make wonderful contributions to our knowledge in these areas and spark curiosity and ideas to pursue. Join me, Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and let's get into today's masterclass on this InnovaBuzz podcast.
If you're doing work you love, you're passionate about it, and you're working with people that you like to work with, then success will come, money will come. Don't be in too much of a hurry to get there, because you can grow very quickly and get successful very quickly, but if you're not prepared for it, it can come crashing down really quickly.
Hi there, Innovator. It's really great to be back with another episode. I hope you've had an awesome week so far. And I hope that you enjoyed my recent conversations with Prerna Malik of Content Bistro and with James Hayes of Developmental Edge. I'm really excited to have on the InnovaBuzz podcast as my guest today, Jason Soultan. He's the co-founder and design director at digital agency Soul & Wolf, and he's also founder and director of the No BS conference. Jason's agency has been operating for 14 years and is focused on doing great work for great people. They are all about people and relationships, and the best relationships they have found are built on close collaboration. Jason started the No BS conference in response to a frustration that most of the conferences and events he attended in the digital space lacked real-world content and focused largely on tactics, techniques, and technology. The No BS conference is designed as a place where like-minded people can get together, listen to some amazing stories, and cut through, well, all the BS. The inaugural conference will be in Melbourne's Forum Theatre on March 11 and 12 in 2020. So check out the links later in the episode to find out more and to register if you're so inclined. In fact, we've fast-tracked the publication of this episode to help Jason out getting the word out about this event. A quick promotional message from our sponsor, that's InnovaBuzz, where we help coaches and consultants build professional credibility, engage their target audience, and connect with their ideal client. That requires absolute clarity about who your ideal clients are and how you can help them. To help you get that clarity about your ideal client, take a look at our Marketing Master mini class, where in less than 30 minutes you'll gain absolute clarity on your ideal client and how you can communicate with them to build and strengthen an engaging, enduring relationship. Access the Marketing Master mini class at innovabuzz.co/Marketing Master. It's completely free and accessible without even giving away your email. In our discussion today, Jason talked to me about why doing good work must be focused on the user experience, on the customer's customer. He explained how he has built both his people network and his idea banks from travelling extensively. And we talked at length about why he set up the No BS conference, how he did what was needed, and worked through all the challenges. Without further ado then, let's fly into the hive and get the buzz from Jason Soultan. Hi, I'm your host Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and I'm really excited to welcome to the InnovaBuzz podcast today, all the way from Melbourne, which is just up the road from me, Melbourne, Australia, Jason Soultan, who is co-founder and director at Soul & Wolf, and also founder of the No BS conference. So welcome to the podcast, Jason. It's a real privilege to have you as my guest.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Christina Canters, who was our guest on episode 267 of the InnovaBuzz podcast, suggested that we have a conversation with you, Jason. So a big shout out to Christina.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. I was actually with her a little while ago, to be honest. We were doing a tour of our venue this afternoon. So, yeah, it's
Okay.
cool.
Yeah, well, I'm really looking forward to digging into the No BS conference and learning a bit more about that and what's prompted that, and also talking to you perhaps a little bit more about your own specialties at Soul and Wolf, which are around design, branding, and all things strategy around design and branding. But before we get into that in a little bit more depth, give us a bit of a snapshot of your background. How did you get to where you are today, and what were some of the pivotal moments in that journey?
Look, I've always been the creative type, and I think from a very young age, I think that was the direction I always wanted to go in. And yeah, I started back in the day before computers were really being used for graphic design and all those sorts of things, and before the internet was really a big thing. But I just knew from a young age that was the path I wanted to take. And straight out of school, I enrolled in a number of courses, enrolled in university, and not long after that, the multimedia and the web really took over. So my passion for that grew even more, and taught myself a lot of things, and grew with, I suppose, how the industry has. But yeah, core strength definitely being the creative and design.
And when did you start the current business, Soul and Wolf?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I started a very long time ago, so probably about 12 or 13 years ago. I really hit the straps and decided to work for myself. I bounced around at a couple of smaller agencies, freelancing and doing all that jazz. But I quickly found myself gaining a whole bunch of clients and a lot of work that really kept me back from almost working somewhere else. And I decided from a very young age to sort of go it alone and do it that way. I think the European heritage I have, a Greek background. A lot of people around me were self-employed. My parents were obviously both self-employed, and I almost think that was my destiny from the start. Destined to work for myself and do it that way. Yeah.
And how big's the team now? So you've grown quite a bit in those 13,
Yeah.
14 years, right?
Yeah, it took me probably 4 or 5 years to employ my first staff member, but right now we're at 12. So we got a decent sized team.
Yeah. And your clients, are they local or Australia-wide, international?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of international clients, definitely Australia-wide. Being from Melbourne, obviously a lot of the larger companies that we deal with are Sydney-based, but we're all around Australia and a couple around the country. And they range from small businesses to medium and large enterprises and government bodies and not-for-profits. And yeah, so we've got a really good spread of clients, which keeps things interesting, really.
Yeah. And what's different about you from other branding agencies or design agencies?
Design development. Look, I think we're pretty real and honest. We have a motto at work that do good work for good people. So we almost, probably to our detriment, sometimes don't think about the financial gain too much, and we really want to do great work and work with good people. So I think that's probably it. We really try to embrace the brands. We get to know the brands. We immerse ourselves in the work that we're currently doing, and really want to work with our clients as another arm of their team or their organisation. So trying to entrench ourselves as much as possible.
And what struck me looking through your website is that there is a very heavy focus on people and the relationship side of things. So you don't actually talk
Definitely.
a lot about strategy and tactics and details. You're really talking a lot about the value you provide, but based around the personal relationships.
Yeah, I think that comes into design, and you've probably already heard about user experience and customer experience and engagement, and you've really got to become either like the client or like their users. So it really does come down to personalities and getting down to that personal level, because we can talk about techniques all we want. Unless you know the client or the target audience, you're really not going to provide the best possible service or quality of work.
That's right. And you touched on something there that I'm very passionate about, is knowing your target audience. That clearly is the first step, I think, to a whole range of things, beginning with marketing and who are you marketing to and design and writing, who you're writing for, podcasting, who's your audience. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Goes
think,
across.
and I've been caught in a couple of heated discussions with clients in the past because they seem to think that you're actually developing or designing this thing for them, and that's just not the case.
Yeah.
So I often tell them, look, we're not doing this for you. While you're paying for it, and it is your property, it's actually for your customer or your client or your target audience. Yeah.
Which that's very much the user experience philosophy,
Correct.
isn't it? So,
Yeah.
and I've had those conversations just recently. In fact, somebody said to me, "I don't think I want that on my website," and let's drop that page or let's move that button. And I said, well, if I'm thinking like the visitor here, if I go on there and I'm looking for if I've landed here, then I've looked for one of these things, and the next thing I want to see then is, well, how do I take the next step? And that's what the button's designed to do. Yeah. So it's just a little example.
I think the clients are, so close to what they're doing that they just expect everyone else to know what that is. And it's really, really not the case.
That's right. Really good point. Now, let's talk about the No BS conference. So I'm really fascinated by that on so many levels from what I've read.
Yep.
Now, first of all, why another conference?
Good question. Look, I've been attending these things for a very long time and traveled the world, trying to further myself and see how other things are done, or just grow personally and professionally. I found myself in a number of positions or a number of times having traveled to different countries or even interstate, and I would sit in a conference for 2 days and think to myself, well, what have I actually got out of this? It's been almost a waste of money. You might one or two talks might resonate with you over 2 days, and then you just think, well, what's the point? And I suppose being in my position, it's unique to an extent. I mean, a lot of people are self-employed, but being a creative, being in digital, and also being a business owner, salesperson to a certain extent, and manager of money and finances, there's not that much content out there that would really relate to me day to day. So yeah, like I said, I could sit in a talk with a designer and hear about great design techniques and all of that jazz. But if we're half decent at what we're doing, we should kind of know all those things. It's more about getting inspired, being motivated, and almost being validated by the other speakers that we're watching or listening to, because they've probably been down that path, trodden down those paths before, and that's what I want to hear. So it's almost a little self-indulgent. I've almost created an event that I want to go to, and it really is about that content and stripping out all the BS out of it, and just being honest, real, and giving either genuine accounts of people's journeys or histories, or just honest accounts of what they're working on, their experience at work, issues that they've fallen into, or just being real and honest and candid with everybody, because not everything is beautiful and flashy and innovative, because it's very hard in our industry. I've been in it now for 15 odd years, and it's not easy, and been self-employed for a large part of that. So while we think everything's great working at these large tech companies in the Silicon Valley, with unlimited budgets and huge teams to do really small, well, we consider small tasks, there is truth, and there's stories behind that we just don't normally see. So I want to try and cut through all of that, I think, and like I said, just have our speakers be honest and candid and share their journeys or their experiences.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and it was around the idea of the overnight success, the fallacy that you go on the internet, and if you've got a great idea and you just do it right, you'll be an overnight success. And, I was listening to something this morning about the style of marketing that has and they were talking about business coaches, so that's my field, my kind of ideal client. They were talking about these business coaches that promote themselves. Their video when they introduce themselves is them walking through this huge mansion, or it's in front of a Ferrari with the bikini clad model on the bonnet, or it's in front of a multi-million-dollar yacht, and you get this fallacy of the overnight success. And the truth is, the overnight success actually takes years, maybe decades sometimes to get to.
All you have to look at is companies like Google and Apple and all. I mean, those guys have been around for 30 plus years. and definitely weren't an overnight success. So we've got even some of our speakers that come in to talk about very similar topics. Running very successful businesses that people probably didn't hear of for the first decade.
That's right. Yeah.
But soon thereafter. So definitely coming to talk about those struggles, those issues, how they navigated their way through that. How they got funding, how they went through all those tasks that nobody sees or hears about. So so it's going to be interesting, exciting. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
And you've got some quite high-profile guests that, if I look through your list here, how did you connect with all these people, and how did you manage to convince them to? Because some of them are coming from quite a ways away, many of them from even the east coast of the US. How did you convince them?
East as well, yeah.
How did you convince them to come to Australia for this conference, and also how did you convince them to share their stories in a really transparent and a way that makes them vulnerable?
Yeah, a lot of it was obviously traveling and going to these other events that I'd seen, and being fortunate enough to be in a couple of situations where I've had some one-on-one time with these people, and I can call a number of them friends, right now. So you definitely gravitate or resonate with people that are sort of like-minded, and it's a very organic thing. And there's another 99% of the people that I probably didn't hit it off with or get along with too quickly or often or easily for that matter. But these guys have been great. Just spending some time learning about their struggles, learning about their journey. People that I would aspire to be or be in their position. They're not too dissimilar from us or myself, or their journeys that they have taken. So it's definitely been 2 or 3 years in the making, and definitely built up some great relationships. On the back of that, obviously they have friends in certain places as well. So word can get around, and you find yourself, I suppose, in contact with a whole bunch of different people that believe in the idea, believe in the no BS concept, and have offered to come down. So I've been really fortunate. It's been great. Definitely, I didn't expect it. And on the back of those guys, I was approached by a number of people to come and speak. So they've definitely bought into the concept as well. So people I had no idea who they were. Well, I'd heard their names, but I didn't know them. And they've all approached me to sort of come down and speak as well. So I'm still fielding, for speakers to jump on board. So it's definitely it's a good problem to have. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now you touched on 3 years, I think you said, was the time that it's been kind of going in planning and organising. So
I sort of dreamt up the idea about 3 years ago. I didn't tell anyone about it until about 18 months ago. I kept it really not much under wraps, but I don't think I believed I could ever do it or pull it off, to be honest. So it was an idea, and I was building a formula and concept behind it. But about 18 months ago, I told the first speaker, one of the speakers that was coming down, Matthias Correa, about it. And that was in San Francisco. And he almost pushed me from then to do it, believe in it. And he's done very similar things in the past. So, I think from that date, voiced it with my business partner as well, Marco. So, he bought into the idea fairly quickly as well. And away we went, really. I started planning, started traveling a little bit more, really thinking about what I wanted this event to be. Financially as well, we needed to support that. And that's been a big task as well, because we've predominantly bootstrapped the whole thing. So I'm sure, as you can imagine, a first time event, nobody really knowing what the hell we're doing or who we are. It's been tough. It's been tricky to get that financial support, sponsorship wise, and what have you. So we've really found ourselves bootstrapping the whole thing, to be honest.
Yeah. So do you have sponsorship, or I know your Soul and Wolf company sponsoring the event as a major sponsor? But
so we've been lucky enough to strike a couple of partnerships. So we've got Adobe on board. We have Nova Entertainment, who have been fantastic, and goat.com.au, which is a subsidiary of theirs. They're really spreading the word, helping us out there. We've got Smart Company as well, another agency, Luminary. So we've been lucky with a number of them, and also some friends in the industry and people who we've really relied on and almost done contra deals with. Well, we have done contra deals with them, and they're helping us as much as they can with whatever we need, whether it's printing or signage, photography, video. So we've really called on some friends as well, which is, that support's been fantastic.
Yeah. A lot of in-kind stuff for
Correct.
services that you need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, tell us a little bit about the event itself. So it's a 2-day event.
2-day event, single track, just to keep it really focused. And like I said, it's really about the content. We're bringing out some incredible speakers to really inspire, the digital industry here, and really, I want people to at least, my aim's for 100% of the talks to enable people to take something away. But if you can come away from the 2 days and at least half those talks have really done something for you and enabled you to grow or change or just change your mindset to become better people, better leaders, better designers, creatives, developers, whatever it is, then we've done our job, I think. It's at the Forum Theatre, so, I mean, you can't really get much more of an inspirational venue. It's probably one of Australia's most iconic theatres, music venues. So, yeah, I really wanted it to be a little bit different, not so much on that corporate, get rid of that corporate rhetoric, and really just focus on that content. And, while everyone loves bells and whistles, let's just try and do away with all that stuff and have good people sitting in an area, sitting in a place for 2 days, learning from each other, meeting each other, networking, and growing together.
Sounds fascinating. Yeah, you're right. Sometimes the bells and whistles can detract a little bit from the content, can't they? I was thinking, I don't know if you've been getting these invites, Tony Robbins and who is it, Dan Carlin? Somebody there's an event at the moment. It's an online streaming thing. I've been getting text messages and emails and getting bombarded by it. And think, I haven't registered yet.
No,
but
look,
you think
Sorry.
of those Tony Robbins events or events like that, and there's like you come in and there's disco lights going and the music blaring and it's all so highly produced that, whilst the content's fabulous, I wouldn't suggest otherwise for Tony Robbins, but there's just so much bells and whistles stuff that, there's a lot of distraction in my mind. Now, I know there's very specific reason he does that, but even so, it's sometimes I find it a bit distracting.
Yeah, and sort of as I touched on before, I mean, most of the people coming, or myself, we're professionals in this industry where we think we're at the top of our game. We don't necessarily need to be taught how to do things. We don't need that practical learning. It really is about allowing us to be motivated and hear from our peers and people who have been there before, and just hearing those stories. So it really is about that. We don't also need to know what the latest and greatest technology is, all this, virtual reality type stuff and augmented reality. Well, it's cool and great to see. I think some basic learnings and real learnings are what's needed in a lot of these events, and that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah. And also those technical things you mentioned, there's a whole lot of other places where you can learn those and see those, whether it's trade fairs or whether it's online training videos or webinars. So that there's probably not necessarily a need to rehash that kind of content.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, if we're doing our jobs, where we should be at the cutting edge, or have our finger on the pulse of most things, whether it's reading blogs, researching, all of that sort of stuff. You'd think that we'd already know most of that stuff.
Okay, now what were some of the lessons you learnt in this journey from 3 years ago when you had the idea to, like I think 2 weeks' time the event kicks off, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks' time, well, not even 12 days. Some of the things I've learned: definitely have a thick skin. Don't take too much. Don't take too much personally. As I touched on, it's been hard, finding that sponsorship or that corporate dollar that most other long-standing events do have, because ultimately that helps you put on this, put on events like these. So we've done it and bootstrapped it ourselves. So yeah, definitely that. Don't get too disheartened by people saying no, and really believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing. And that's what's got me through this period. I mean, I haven't really slept much in the last 12 months, to be honest. Yeah, it's just, and it's not so much a stress thing. It's the sheer volume and amount of work that goes into this type of production, as well as running an agency and having a young family. It takes its toll, and it's very very tiring. But hopefully, the end result we'll see in 2 weeks' time, and it'll be a great success, and it'll all be worth it. And then I'll go into hibernation for a while.
Yeah. So what's the plan? You going to follow up in a year, or are you going to make it less frequent than that?
No, I'd definitely like to do an annual event. So all going well, we'll do another event at the forum next year, a new crop of speakers, and keep that format. But all going well, that'll be the scenario, and who knows where that can go. Maybe some spin-off events, possibly interstate, international. I have some plans, but I really want to get through this first one first, and before I can really focus on those.
So how have you gone about marketing the event?
Most of it's been reaching out, so back to almost being like a cold call salesman in a lot of respects, getting the word out there on LinkedIn through contacts that we know, obviously clients and friends and what have you, and then social media marketing, digital marketing. So a lot of it has been a social campaign via Instagram and Facebook. So that's where a lot of the traction has come in. Yeah. Okay. And with the limited budget that we did have, that was the best sort of solution and scenario that we could go past or go down in order to get the word out.
Was it primarily organic social media postings and people sharing posts and information, or did you do lots of advertising as well?
We did a lot of paid, so it was a hybrid of the two. A lot of the paid ones, which it wasn't so in your face. It was they were pretty subtle campaigns, I'd like to think. And they in themselves, created a conversation and a buzz, and people sharing links and, creating the buzz like that. So, we're still doing it. And it's more, like I said, it's not so much an in-your-face campaign. It's just really to build awareness and get the name out there, and let people decide for themselves if it's something that they like or they think that could be valuable for them. So it's definitely not a hard sell. But starting from ground zero and starting from nothing, we had to go down that path to reach the masses, really. Yeah.
All right. Now I'm just looking through some of the guest lists here. It's pretty impressive. A lot of US guests. So
I can
Canada, Singapore. Yeah. You're not worried about the coronavirus and the travel situation?
Now that you say that, I actually did have one of our team members, so we've got an event management team, obviously, helping us out. I said, "Look, this is getting a little serious. I think we should just double check on the speakers' insurances, travel insurance policies, and what have you, because it could be a thing. I mean, 7 days time, who knows what could happen. We do have one speaker coming from Singapore, so that could be an issue. I'm hoping that majority are US based or Australian based, so they should be okay. We have one coming from Europe, so I'm fingers crossed. We'll be okay. But it definitely is something to take note of and think about, because God knows what can happen in the next week or two.
So what contingency plan? I mean, I think this is a kind of a metaphor for most of us in business. There are things that are completely outside of our control that kind of come in and throw a spanner in the works of something that's really well organized, really well planned out. We think we've got it all sort of down to a T, and then all of a sudden something happens. So what sort of contingency do you have in place?
Look, I don't think that the event will completely fall over. I don't think that there'll be a complete global travel ban. We've obviously got replacement speakers and almost like a substitute bench. And look, we've had a couple of speakers already pull out in the last few weeks for various personal reasons. We've been able to plug those gaps fairly easily and quickly. So apart from that, I mean, apart from having those types of people that can just slot in nicely, that's really, speaker-wise, the only contingency that we do have. By no means do I think that this event would ever be cancelled because of it. But I suppose we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, let's hope not. Let's hope you don't have to use the substitutes bench. Which I like that concept, by the way. It's really good, and I think it highlights something for all of us in business, that you do need to have some contingencies in place, and also be aware, when things are changing, what options do you have to make sure that the objective that you're going for is still going to be met?
Yeah, correct. I mean, that could even come down to venue. I mean,
Mm.
knock on wood, the venue could burn down tomorrow. So, we've got a backup venue.
Okay, yeah.
Obviously, it's not our first choice, but we'd still be able to run the event. So, so that's about all we can do, really, and pray for the best.
Yeah. Now, how many people are you planning for? How many participants?
We should, now depending on how final sales go in the next 2 weeks, we're aiming anywhere between that 350 to 400 mark. So that's, we're very close to that right now, which is great. So reaching our target, I suppose, of that 300 that we initially had set our goal as. So we're at around that now. We should definitely be able to get to close to that 350 to 400 mark.
Yeah. So be a little boutique.
And that's exactly how we wanted it.
Yeah. But the beauty of that is I mean, almost possible for one person to get to know everybody that's there.
Yeah, and
over 2 days.
Correct. So over 2 days, you'll meet some great people. Obviously, people in the industry, people working for some great companies, the speakers who, most of us will never get access to these types of people. And they're amazing people, and you get to know them, and they are just like you and I, but they've got some great wisdom, some great stories to tell us. And I wanted to focus on keeping it small. We could have tried to go big, and I think even in the future, people have asked me, do you want to have like multiple stages and 2,000, 3,000 people there? And I don't think that's what we'd ever really want to do, again, because that's almost what we're trying not to do. So I'd definitely love to keep it that real boutique, creative feeling, really intimate, and really focused on the content, and allowing people to get as much out of it as possible, rather than having to run from one side of a conference hall to the other to try and find the right session, or conflicting sessions. I mean, that's a painful story as well. I mean, I've no doubt you've probably been in that situation too. You probably wanted to see 2 or 3 talks at the one time, and
that's right.
And
yeah.
So
Definitely all the ones that are really interesting are on in parallel, and
correct.
Or they're on one after the other, but at opposite ends of the venue, so that you need about 10 minutes to get from one to the other.
Yeah, so we're definitely not trying to be that big, crazy event. We want it to be, like, as I mentioned, fairly boutique, and fairly intimate. I suppose is a good word for it. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, we'll touch on it again later, but just give us a little bit of detail about the event and where people can find out about it if they're interested in looking it up and finding out more, and maybe even coming along.
Yeah, so the website's nobs.events. So you can just type that into your browser. It'll come up with all the information you need. There'll be there's obviously the schedules there, and speaker descriptions, bios, synopsises of their talks. So you can get all the information there, and obviously clicking through to get some tickets on our social media accounts. So most of them, you just type in No BS Events on Instagram or Facebook, and also LinkedIn, and you'll find us there. So that's where you can find us. Most of the action is definitely on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. We'll remind people again a little bit later. So this has been fabulous, Jason. I really appreciate you sharing that and giving us a little bit of an insight into, what was involved in setting up this event, why you set it up, and what's different about it. Now, I think it's a good point to move on to the Buzz, which is our innovation round, and it's designed to help our audience, who are primarily innovators and leaders in their field, with some tips from your experience. So I've got 5 questions, and hopefully you'll give us some really insightful answers that'll inspire our listener to go and do something awesome today as a result.
Yeah.
So what's the number one thing you think anyone needs to do to be more innovative?
I definitely think you've got to have an interest in or a passion. But for me, it's definitely being observant and aware of the systems, technologies around you, and knowing what's out there, and trying to better that or further that. I think is my advice there.
Yeah. So look for things that could be improved.
Exactly.
And being observant, that's really important. lot of people go through life and don't see what's in front of their nose.
Correct. A lot of people can have blinkers on and be blindsided. You definitely need to have that 360 vision and know what's around you.
All right. Now, what's the best thing you've done to develop new ideas?
Look, I have a big passion for travel, so I do like traveling a lot, and even in business with Soul and Wolf or what have you. Like I mentioned, we travel around, going to all these different events, trying to learn what else is out there. So definitely travel would be one of them. If I didn't travel, this event wouldn't be happening. This event. So definitely that, and definitely doing your homework and research. There's a lot to be said for researching and reading blogs and just keeping your finger on the pulse. And if you've got an idea or you've got something you want to do, try and find a niche in it. Try not to be too generic. Niches are definitely where it's at, or finding a gap in a certain market or a certain sector.
Yeah, that niching is wonderful advice. I always tell people every time I sort of focus my business a little bit more narrow that it actually grows as a result, and that is so counterintuitive. So I think that niching is always really good advice.
Mm-hmm. That's what we try and tell a lot of our clients. Sorry, sorry, cut you off there. So I try and tell a lot of our clients that, because we have a lot that obviously come across our desk trying to start a new business, and some just want to be fashion designers. Well, God, there's a lot of fashion out there. What's your difference? What's your niche? If you find a niche, then go for it. If not, then probably forget the idea, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite resource that you use most often?
Tools wise, I mean, being a creative, I can be sort of unorganized, very ad hoc. So one thing we do use a lot, or we use exclusively at work, is Asana. So it's just a task management tool, and that helps me keep a structure, lets me keep lists, obviously, and keep organized. So for me, that's a really important tool, because I can quickly jump from one thing to the other, and the amount of tasks that I do have in a day or week or month is pretty significant. So that's definitely, Asana is an amazing tool. Yeah.
Yeah, we love Asana. We use it pretty well every day to keep things on track. Now,
Correct.
are you when you're doing creative design drawing type work, do you still do pen and paper or pencil and paper, or are you online?
Look, it depends on the task or what we need, but with the automatic reaction is to grab a pen and paper and scribble something down. Even when it comes down to UX and user experience design and stuff like that, we always sketch out whether it's web pages or what have you, an idea. So we definitely start with the pen and paper a lot of the time.
All right. Now, well, you've touched on Asana as a project management tool. What's the best way to keep a project or a client on track?
Communication. Constantly keeping in touch with the client. So there's nothing worse, and we've all not been victim to it, but we've all done it in our career or life, and that's basically, let's say we sign up a client and everything's great. We'll go ahead and start a project for you, and you don't get back to them until the thing's ready to launch. Well, that's a recipe for disaster there. So definitely communication, constant touch, constant updates, and managing the client's expectations is a big one too.
Yeah, that's a really good advice, managing the expectations. And of course, the best way to manage the expectations is to have those constant conversations.
Correct. So we're constantly updating our clients of where we're at. It could be a daily, it could be a weekly scenario, but we try and minimize that risk as much as possible, and at least minimize the surprises for them towards the end of a project. So that's what we try and do.
All right, great. Now, what's the number one thing you think anyone can do to differentiate themselves?
I think being real and honest, to be honest, if I can be even more honest, just being real, being yourself, telling people what you think, and try not to sugarcoat things too much, because it's very easy to get caught in a trap of thinking about the financial gain or success of a project. But at the end of the day, you want to do work that you're happy with. You want to work with people that you are happy with. And, financial almost comes as a second or third, priority. So just being real and honest with people.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier about, not sleeping terribly well through the last year, and I think that touches on something that I think is really important for every entrepreneur and
Mm.
business owner. That your own health and your own wellness is something that are really important, and often we kind of ignore some of the warning signs. And
Mhm.
if you're kind of not being real or trying to take on a different persona for the sake of getting new business or increasing revenue or growing the business simply, and
Mm.
then that definitely wears on
Oh,
your
100%.
well-being. Yeah.
Well, if you're not being yourself, you're being someone you're not, and
Yeah, that's
you're
right.
playing. You're effectively an actor.
Costs a lot of energy.
Correct, correct. So
Mm,
look, I firmly believe that if you're doing work you love, you're passionate about it, and you're working with people that you like to work with, then success will come, money will
mm.
come. Don't be in too much of a hurry to get there, because you can grow very quickly and get successful very quickly, but if you're not prepared for it, it can come crashing down really quickly.
Yeah, and we were having a conversation before about the overnight successes. I think it might have been before we started recording, but yeah, the fallacy of the overnight success, and
Yeah.
typically those that we see as wow, overnight successes, they've got probably 10, 15, 20 years of really hard work behind them. So
Possibly a couple of nervous breakdowns or halfway to
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
so
yeah.
look, I've got a number of friends in this position, and they now run some great companies, but they've been in that startup phase. It's taken them, a decade to get there, and the hardest thing is trying to get funding, trying to go through all that sort of all that stuff, and it's the hardest time of their life. So it really tests the person. You really
Mm,
have to have a strong character. I mean, this goes back to even just being in business, or in anything in life. Have a thick skin, have a will and determination, and don't give up,
mm.
because it's really easy to give up.
Yeah,
It's really
that's
hard
right.
to do. It's really hard to do the things that we do. So yeah.
Mm. All right. Well, thanks, Jason. This has been really fabulous. Now, where can people find out more about you and about Soul and Wolf? And then, yeah, tell us about the event again also.
Yeah, so I mean, Soul and Wolf. Obviously, you can either Google Soul and Wolf in Google, or soulandwolf.com.au. So you can go on there and find out a little bit more about what we do and who we are, and also No BS, as I touched on before, nobs.events. You can Google that as well, and you'll get all the information you need there. And by all means, reach out to myself personally, or via socials, and let's grab a coffee, grab a
Mm,
drink, or whatever you
yeah,
like. Kick off a relationship. Yeah,
keep going on this conversation. Yeah.
yeah,
All right. And we'll post the links in the show notes so people can click straight through.
fantastic.
Now, what kind of parting bit of advice would you like to leave our listener today, particularly, in their quest to be a leader in innovation and in their field?
Probably just more of the stuff that I've touched on. So just
Mm,
be real, be honest, be yourself, be true to yourself, and just persevere. I mean, perseverance is it's very tough, but you've just got to keep fighting through it. And I think if you can do that and you believe in what you're doing, then you'll succeed and get to where you need.
mm. Yeah, thanks for that. That's really great, and I'm sure there was a lot of that involved in putting together your event, apart from growing your business. So,
100%.
yeah, yeah,
100%. I remember sitting there a couple of times saying, "Am I really doing this?" Yeah, I'll just pull the pin. I don't believe in myself enough, or we all get with imposter syndrome. So
mm,
but if you can fight through that, then I think you can fight through anything.
mm. So, how did you fight through that when you got those feelings?
Supportive people around me, to be honest.
Mm,
Self doubt. I don't know whether it's just being a creative. You definitely do have that imposter syndrome. And yeah, it's just basically people believing in you and reinforcing that, and pushing you through. I think that, yeah, I'm pretty headstrong, to be honest, anyway, but it's still very tough and tricky. So you definitely do need good people behind you to
mm.
help you
Yeah,
push through
that's
those
really
barriers.
important. And that's really important. And also, those of us that are entrepreneurs, I mean, it's sometimes it's a very lonely life. So
Yep.
shutting yourself away is not the answer when you get
No.
into those sort of feelings. You've got to get out and talk to people.
Yeah, and exactly right. And that's probably some of the things that I didn't do early in my career. I didn't ask enough questions. I didn't, seek advice or counsel, or, whatever it was. And it can be very lonely, and you can shut yourself away. And almost isolate yourself. And that in itself is no good, because you can't grow, you can't learn, you can't do any of those things. So definitely, talk to people, speak to people, ask those questions. That's probably another bit of advice I would say.
Yeah. All right. Well, great. Thanks, Jason. Now, finally, who would you like me to chat with on a future InnovaBuzz podcast, and why?
Oh, geez, that's a question I didn't think of. Can I get back to you on that?
Sure.
Is that okay? One does not come to my head. There's a number of them that probably would be very suitable for this, to be honest.
Yeah, this is kind of my process, that perhaps analogous to what you went through in building the speaker list for your No BS event.
Yeah, I mean, I could give you a couple of speakers, to be honest. Andrew Lane from Genero. So it's an Australian startup, 10-year startup. He's fantastic. He's a good friend of mine, but he's got a fantastic story to tell about their startup journey and the overnight success, as you mentioned. Another friend of mine, Mark Calabro, from a company called Automate. So they started a point-of-sale software system some 15 years ago. They now have launched a new brand called Hungry, which is technology-based, ordering it at your table. So yeah, some of these guys would be fantastic. I could give you a whole list more too.
All right. Well, we'll chat offline about the bigger list, but in the meantime, we'll reach out there.
Very innovative people, very smart people, and doing innovative and great things. So,
Okay. Well, in the meantime, we'll reach out to Andrew and Mark and perhaps get an introduction from you as well.
Sure.
All right. Well, thanks so much for sharing your time and your insights with us on the InnovaBuzz podcast so generously today, Jason. I've really enjoyed this. It's been really interesting to hear, the background of the No BS event and why and how you went about building the speakers and growing that speaker cohort, and how you've gone about marketing it as well. So I wish you all the best for the event and for the future, and let's keep in touch.
Thanks very much. It's been a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed that insightful and informative conversation with Jason and took something away from his episode. Do check the details of the No BS conference if that's something that interests you. And if you're listening to this in early March, then you still have time to register and go along to the event. I'd love to know what you took away from Jason's episode. Leave a comment below the blog post, which you can find at innovabiz.co/Jason Soultan. That is JASONSOULTAN. All lowercase, all one word, innovabiz.co/Jason Soultan. You'll also find contact information for getting in touch with Jason there, as well as links to the Soul and Wolf website, to the No BS conference website, and to his social media pages, as well as other resources that we spoke about in the conversation today. Jason suggested we have a conversation with Andrew Lane of Genero and with Mark Calabro of Hungry on future InnovaBuzz podcast episodes. So Andrew and Mark, keep an eye on your inboxes for an invitation from us to the InnovaBuzz podcast, courtesy of Jason Soultan. Remember to check out our Marketing Master mini class at innovabiz.co/Marketing Master. It's completely free and accessible without even giving away your email. But most importantly, it will enable you in less than 30 minutes to gain absolute clarity about who your ideal client is and how you can communicate with them to build and strengthen an engaging, enduring relationship. And if you'd like our help to go even deeper into marketing mastery, or our help with producing your very own podcast, even launching your very own podcast if you don't yet have one, then send me an email to jurgen@innovabiz.co and we can set up a quick call to have a short conversation and find out whether we're a good fit for one another. Tune in again to the next episodes of the InnovaBuzz podcast, where we've got more fantastic guests lined up, including confidence coach and podcaster Christina Canters and Kate Billing, founder and creative director of Blacksmith. Stay connected with us by subscribing to the InnovaBuzz podcast at innovabuzz.com/subscribe. INNOVABUZZ.com/subscribe. Make sure you never miss another episode. It would also mean a lot to me if you leave us a review, because what you think matters. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your ideas, your suggestions, or questions you have, so go ahead and share them in the comments below the blog post for this episode. Until next time, I'm Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz. Remember, be awesome and keep innovating.